Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of our pilot for our Camera Creations podcast, hosted at whatever works for now. It's the middle of July at the moment, and as I said, part 2 is upon us. We have got some people, or is it just one person, who wasn't here last time to give us their introduction. Last time we had myself and Ian Bundey and Joe Hickey, and Chris Clayton says he's introduced, but he's not introduced. He hasn't been on yet, has he? He wasn't on the last show, was he, Chris Clayton?
I think he was.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, just before he went away.
Right, just before he went away, yeah.
It's been that long.
Yeah, I know. We must apologise for that. Various things went wrong. We were supposed to be doing this every 2 weeks, but in actual fact, it all fell apart, and summer was upon us, and everyone had... we're just getting busy lives, and then it was baking hot last week, so we cancelled it for another week. Anyway, here we are now, part 2 of the pilot, in which we are deciding what we're doing with this podcast, if anything, going forward, and see what people want to do. I'm joined today then by Chris Kelly, new boy. He's here. Hello, Chris.
New boy to this particular podcast, but
Indeed.
Regular on many others.
Indeed. We'll come to you in a second. You can do your introduction and rundown of what everyone else has done. Ian Bundey is here again, Mr. Formula One. Hi, Ian.
Hey, how you doing? Good to be back again.
Yeah, good to hear you. Yeah. And Joe Hickey, of course, who has turned up every time, even when there was just the two of us. So well done, Joe. And how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm ever present. I haven't got a clue what I'm talking about, but I'm always here.
Very good. Anyway, so the general idea is that we're going to have a natter about all things photography, really, and which can take in all sorts of topics. We did throw some topics at the wall, and they included stuff like new products, camera bodies, film versus digital, black and white versus colour, drones even, software that people are using for digital photography, what's caught our eye, lenses, technique, famous photographers even, and accessories, and one which Ian put in, which was moving from smartphone to camera. So that might be an interesting one when we get to it. Ed House has also put something in the recording notes for us this time. If we have time, we'll come to that and talk about some of the stuff he's been doing with regards to comparing full frame with micro four thirds. But let's start with Chris. Chris, you're very welcome on the show. We're glad that you've eventually been able to jump in, and it'd be really good if you could just kind of take 5 minutes to tell us all about your background in photography and what you've been doing and what you're currently using, the gear you're using, or what you have been using. I think as I recall, you've actually dabbled in professional photography and all sorts of interesting training you've had. So do fill us in.
What do you mean 5 minutes? I thought I had the full hour.
You can have as long as you like.
Right. The thing that got me started, I'm now 64 years old, and I started at the age of 8. So, been at it a while. Got taken on a family holiday to the Isle of Man, and my father bought me one of the old Kodak Instamatic 126 cameras. It happened to be the Isle of Man TT week, practice week. So that was where both cameras and motorcycles started for me, taking pictures of bikes whizzing past. Of course, I got lots of blurred hedges and no bikes. Kind of stuck with it. First real serious camera I got was a Nikon EM, which was the aperture priority on the camera, which my then girlfriend bought for me. She must have loved me. And then a bit later, when I was at college studying electronics, I bought a Nikon FM, and really got into that again. Been following motorsport for many years and use that. air shows and those kind of things. My proudest moment was when my buddy got the first of the Canon auto everything, auto exposure, motor drive and all the rest of it. And when we got back from the air show, me with my fully mechanical Nikon FM, I'd got more shots in focus and well exposed than he did with his auto everything.
Mind you, early autofocus was a bit hit and miss, wasn't it?
Oh, it was pretty crap, yes. Yeah, and the motor drive was fairly sluggish. So yeah, it was on a hiding to nothing, because by that stage that camera was just like a body part. I didn't have to think to operate anything. It just flowed. And then a little while after that, I ended up going to college, studying a City and Guilds in photography. Again, that was various Nikon cameras. I had a F80 at the time.
Yep, I've got one of those here.
Yeah, I've still got it somewhere.
Yeah.
And then my first digital SLR, having had a few digital compacts, was the Nikon D100. Sort of prosumer kind of thing. And that was the one, a fellow that I'd met through the motorcycle world, who was a wedding photographer and was looking for an assistant. Flashed my City and Guilds credentials, which I proudly say I got a double distinction in. Went working with him for a few years doing weddings, so he would do all of the formal stuff, and I would do the just the off the cuff,
the fun stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It was the fun stuff. Yeah, going around catching people. And there's one picture of a little girl that I took at one wedding, which I've posted in the MeWe group. And she was one of those. Her parents told me that she was a proper tomboy, and they put her in a nice dress and a nice hat and all the rest of it. And I found her sort of climbing up the walls in the porch for the church, and she just looked at me with this real sheepish look, sort of like, oops, I've been caught. And my mate said that's the one photograph that sold more for him than anything else, because she was just darned cute. So it wasn't particularly my talent, but it was just one of those moments when you catch an expression and everyone in the family wanted a copy of it, so he sold a load of that one. Then unfortunately Buddy fell ill and stopped working, so that was that. But then I went working, my day job. I worked for a facilities management company, and sort of sat in the sales team for my sins. And the boss found out that I was into photography, so whenever they had corporate events, I was the resident photographer doing all that sort of stuff, so awards ceremonies and those side of things. My unpaid stuff that I was interested in, apart from motorsports, was street photography. So part of my City and Guilds portfolio was wandering around the streets taking pics of stuff. And Ted, you mentioned about favourite photographers. One of my oh, is this by magic? There's a little girl just popped up in the show notes. My hero at the time was Martin Parr. Have you ever seen his New Brighton shots? So he used to go round taking photos on bright sunny days, but he would use fairly strong flash as well, so it was mixing not just sort of light fill-in flash, it was fairly significant. I tried to emulate that style for part of my portfolio for the City and Guilds, and it must have come off as a did rather well in it. So, and then I just kind of fell out of love with it. I stopped carrying the gear. I had bucketfuls of gear. I used to like the Sigma lenses. Had a few of those, a couple of fast zooms, a couple of primes. And I just stopped taking it with me. It was just this great big kit bag with all this heavy gearing. And I just never took it anywhere. So I sold it all. And I bought the Panasonic GX7 Micro Four Thirds, as it's a sort of rangefinder style of camera. I thought it would be suited to doing a bit of street photography or just for the family days out, getting snaps. Bought that, couple of zooms, couple of primes, and promptly left that home on every trip. It's had very, very little use. So, the reason I'm kind of wanting to get into this community and this podcast and chat with you wonderful people is maybe to see if I can rekindle the passion.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I like to hear that.
like a lot of people here, I think. Well, not all of us by a long shot, but certainly me, and a couple of others in the group in MeWe. I was saying on the last show that my interest has horribly waned away, and this gives an opportunity to think about it again. And that kind of shot, that I've just, as you mentioned, I dropped the shot into the recording notes here, so at least us here can see what you were talking about just now, and it really is a super shot, isn't it? I assume that everyone can see that, and
yep.
It's a gorgeous portrait. It really is. It's ever so well captured.
So facial expression, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
And the eyes.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Really good. So all the time you were doing all that, Chris, presumably you were also working, and this is all kind of spare time stuff. When you were doing the college, the certificate, you were doing that in the evening, I suppose, were you?
That's right. Yeah, night school. The guy that we had teaching it, to be honest, he was a bit rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to hand out all these handouts, and because I'd been at it a while, I kind of already knew the stuff that was in the lessons. But there was quite a lot of people on the course who were completely new to anything other than point and shoot cameras. Right. And I almost ended up as the second teacher helping out with other people on the course. Yeah. But the bit that had been new to me at that time was darkroom work, which I did learn from the teacher, doing processing your own black and white stuff. We never did the colour, but we did processing and printing black and white.
Mm-hmm. I've done a bit of that. Has anyone else been in a dark room and started to dabble with that? Ian or Joe?
No, I'd love to though.
Mm-hmm.
No. I think Lightroom is about my limit at the moment. So.
Yeah, I think you said that Ian, you kind of like Chris Clayton had come into this quite late and don't remember those days at all, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It for me, it's been probably the last 5 years, and back to what you mentioned at the start, it was an evolution from having the phone and enjoying taking pictures and capturing things that are slightly different with your phone, and then stepping up to a camera and going from hero to zero, and then having to learn it has been the journey I've been on for the last sort of 5 years. So
yeah. So yeah.
Sorry, Terry. I was just going to say when I switched to digital, I think it was around about when they launched Lightroom. So Photoshop had been going for quite a while, and then they came out with this new product, Lightroom, and it was a bit of a revelation. Again, because I'm a bit of a geek, I then signed on at college to do a course in Photoshop and Lightroom and played with that for years, tweak things, but again, just available time and all the rest of it, and it just fell by the wayside, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. I've just tracked down online Martin Parr. Perhaps you can click on that link to tell me if that's the right Martin Parr's website, Chris, or if that's just someone remotely not connected who's got the same name.
Come on, click on it, you thing. Come on.
If it's the right one, I'll put the link in the show notes, and people can go and have a look at what you're talking about. But if it's not the right one, then I won't.
It's not. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. Okay, that's good.
So the first shot that comes up is all these people sitting on lounges on this shingle beach. It was New Brighton was, I think, where he did it. Mm-hmm. And there's one with seagull pinching chips, and a fairly well-known ones of his.
Uh-huh. I have to admit that I've not heard of the chap, but it certainly looks like an interesting bunch of photographs. And there's a load from at one point from Glastonbury as well, which is interesting. Some people dressed up in wild fashion and having a rather wild time too. So yeah, we'll put that link in the show notes as well, so people can go and have a look at that. And with your permission, we'll also put the picture of the little girl in the show notes, so people can have a look at that as well.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so
Mr. Parr seems to like the primary colours, doesn't he? There's sort of a theme going through.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, there's a couple of others I've popped up, shots that I took around the Manchester tram system that have got those sort of popping primary colours the same.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, so as I said at the outset, this is part 2 of the pilot, where we're kind of just deciding what to do with this, if anything, and whether the way forward. I think at the end of the first pilot, once a few people had introduced themselves, we kind of thought that we would be trying to do this every couple of weeks and see how we get on and see if there's any interest or anyone's listening to it, or whether people listening to it doesn't really matter if we're just having a nice little conversation about it anyway. Needn't particularly be a big problem if no one's listening to it, but hopefully they are. It's on the back of our Whatever Works podcast, so that hosting has got a kind of place already in YouTube and other places as well. So any thoughts, Chris? Did you listen to the first show?
I did indeed, yes. Yeah. Again, really interesting to hear other people's backgrounds and what got them to where they are. I have to say, I love Ian's work and Chris's work, seeing their pictures on there, and I'm very jealous. I think one of the things for myself that was always the challenge was having that artistic eye, which I think both Ian and Chris certainly have demonstrated on the forum. I'm a technology geeky side of things, so that was what got me interested in the first place, sort of the technical aspect of it, and the number of shots that I took and discarded because they were just goddamn awful.
That's normal though. That's very normal. Like the amount of shots I discard is plenty.
But the problem was I was doing it in the days when it was filmed and you had to pay for every shot.
Yeah, so it's more costly.
Wow. I've occasionally commented on other people's pictures, either on Camera Creations or on the PSC photos. And I'm a great critic. I'm just not great at delivering mail.
Well, that says to me you have got an eye for it, though. If you can critique photos, you've got an eye for it, I'd say.
Thank you.
I think we brought this up as a possible subject around getting critique, because one of the challenges that you post a picture or you post it on Instagram or PSC photos and you get lots of likes. What the really useful thing is, look, all of that is great, but if you thought about doing this, and this, and I think back, and I don't think it was yourself, Chris, but I think I posted probably a photo years ago, and the horizon was so off, but I didn't notice it, and I think someone mentioned you're getting a little bit seasick looking at the image, and it's one of those things
Sounds like
that, yeah, potential. But it was one of those things that until someone points it out to you, you go, oh my God, then you can't unsee it. And I think that's, for me, as a way of continually learning and just getting that critique or just people to have a look at it rather than going, oh, that's a good photo. I think that's definitely how I think I can evolve on moving forward, rather than just taking the same shots, which again is maybe a problem that I'm going through now, is that I came back from Goodwood last weekend and there's the challenge of getting everything in focus, and then there's no artistic element to it. It's just, it is a car, it's in focus, that's great, but that's it. It's more of a technical thing rather than anything artistic or anything that I would bring to the picture. So it's a little bit interesting from that perspective of, you see the work that the other Chris does and posts. So that, again, there's that real variety and artistic flair there, I think.
I think a lot of the artistic stuff is done in post. And which you could do with your shots, like you get it in focus and then you could play with it afterwards, maybe.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's and I think it was discussed here or somewhere that it's being in the right place, getting the right shot, and then the other major part is that what you do to process it. A lot of people saying, like, straight from the camera, and for me that would be, I don't think I would post something or be happy with something that doesn't have some kind of touch on it that I've done, or some kind of filter or something that I've put on there. But
that's interesting, because I was just arguing the other way in the group today, in the MeWe group, saying that, photography to me with film, when every frame was costing you money, was very much about making sure you get your shot right in the first place. And you didn't have, apart from darkroom tricks, of course, as we mentioned earlier, you didn't have the ability to just fire away and then sort it out later. And I was reflecting that actually, in many ways, I prefer to do it the old-fashioned way, if you like. I get really confused by computer software and device software. I've not done it, and when I have tried to do it, it's been just complicated, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I suppose, like a lot of these things, if you had someone sat next to you showing you, it'd be a bit different. But it felt as though it wasn't that much of interest to me. I would like to go down to Goodwood with you, Ian, and with a film camera and watch the cars going past or whatever. And I know that by doing it the old-fashioned way, you might well miss a shot, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of photographs have been taken back in those days where, professional photographers had motor drives and the cost of film was not an issue for them, but there seems to be more of a kind of, let's plan this shot and make it work. I used to do a lot of painting with light, which I think I mentioned on the last show, and that was all about controlled environments and about making sure the shot counted and setting it up and planning it, and to me that's what the artistic side of photography was about. Was it you, Ian, that had the photograph where there was a ballerina, I think a model, in a room some months ago now? Yeah, the black and white one. And that, to me, that was the kind of photograph that I would be absolutely delighted taking. Not creating. I think I asked you at the time. Was there any post-production done? And I think you said no. It was as it was, except some vignetting, I think. But it was just superb, and I loved that photograph. Really, really nice. If I can track it down, I'll put that in the show notes as well. But long way round to just saying that. I think that there are two ways of looking at that, Ian. That panning with a camera is an art that is a skill that is learned, and by just firing stuff off and then hoping to fix it later on, it's just a different kind of art and a different kind of photography to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there is that deep element, and that's where I guess where you talk about sort of famous photographers that that you can learn from. There's a guy called Darren Heath who has been in motorsport photography since the 80s. He has a channel called The Art of F1, I think, which is on Instagram. But he does a lot around images and painting of colours and things like that, and seeing things. But he plans the shot, but also he plans what I think he has the end in sight before he does the shot, and then what he's going to do post-processing. And it's lucky to sort of sit behind him and see him do some work on an image before then see it posted a couple of days later. Those are sort of amazing shots, and learning from those people that have been in there and evolved from film now into digital, but also using the post-processing things to add some kind of artistic sort of flair to the image as well.
Sure, I'm looking at his website now, and most of the photographs. This must be quite a difficult one if you're trying to sell photographs. To show them on your website is to almost kind of give them away in a sense. Well, not. I mean, there's copyright stuff going on, but if you click through on this, there's watermarks all over the photographs, obviously. So it's going to be difficult for people to use them, but. I don't know. People, do you know about that? How people make sure that they tantalise enough so that people are interested enough to want to get the images, but not giving it all away, so they don't have to bother buying them.
I think it's also that a lot of the stuff that I do is all in the metadata, so everything is tagged and copyright protected from there. So if someone did get hold of an image and then used it for commercial reasons, then again that image is copyrighted. But I'm sure people can take an image and use it as a backdrop or a screensaver or something like that. Yeah. But if you do manage to download it, you'll see all of the copyright information in the metadata of the actual image itself.
Yeah. Chris, I remember you talking about copywriting and stuff like that some time back. I think it was wrapped up in a conversation we were having about taking photographs in public and where you were allowed to do what you like and where you weren't allowed to do what you like, and the risk of being arrested for being where you shouldn't be and all that sort of thing. But I think I got a feeling you might have had something at that time to say about copyright, didn't you?
Yeah, certainly stuff that I used to paste to forum. There was the one that I used to post stuff to was ePhotozine.
Oh yeah.
It was a guy who had been a magazine editor, set up the website as a digital magazine, so I posted stuff there. And I used to apply the Creative Commons copyright stuff on mine, so that if an individual, for example, wanted it as a screensaver, a wallpaper, or whatever, and even if they wanted to modify it, I was always okay with that. But as Ian says, if there was any commercial use, then that was where it ended.
Mm-hmm. And we do now have quite a lot of these sharing sites popping up now that try to encourage people to dump their work on. One that springs to mind is Pexels. Pexels is one that I've used, and they essentially anyone can open a Pexels account, upload a load of their photographs. There's a few of them like Unsplash and Pixabay and StockSnap and that sort of thing, but people
Flickr.
like. Yeah, to some degree, but the Pexels one is geared up to actually say, look, you can use this. We're giving you permission to use this, and then you can take it away. And I do. I'm the editor of a magazine, and I use Pexels a lot. And they look for people to chip in cups of coffee for them, and they're not looking to sell to the likes of us. But if you do use it in a magazine, which I do now, my magazine is not for profit, and so it's not. This is not the Sunday Times. But presumably the Sunday Times will be using them, and they'll be able to make more from that. But there are a load of sites like that. Is that similar to what you were talking about, Chris?
Yes, yeah. I mean, Creative Commons is used by lots of creatives, not just photographers, but it's a license that you can apply to, stories or. If you've painted a piece of work and post images of that, so it's applicable to any creative work.
Right, good stuff. Okay then, so maybe Ian, we could, as we've got a bit of time here, we could drop down to your last item in the theme section called "Moving from a smartphone to a camera," and perhaps we can have a discussion about that in a few minutes. Before we get there, I'm not going to ask Chris if he'd just tell us a bit more about the 360 cameras, because we're not just about traditional cameras. There's other stuff out there. We were talking on the last show, I think, about the half-frame Fuji camera, which seems to be a bit of something and nothing, and is gaining very mixed reviews. But there's also this 360 thing, and it'd be quite interesting for you to tell us a bit more depth about how you've used that and what you've done with it.
Yeah, so the very first one I ever had was just a little module that plugged into the lightning port of an iPhone, and it was fairly hopeless, and the software wasn't great. And then the company that produced that, Insta360, I think they're Korean, started coming out with these standalone devices. And being a biker, I got them for use on the bike. So, lots of people use the GoPros and action cam sort of thing, but the problem with those is, they're only pointing in one direction. So the 360 cameras, so long as you got decent light, they were producing a reasonable image. Obviously a 360 image. But the thing that really set them apart, GoPro did produce a 360 as well, but what set Insta360 apart was their software. So they had some really, easily accessible, didn't take a lot of knowledge, PC Mac software, but there was also just a little app on your phone. So with a 360 image, you can publish it as that, but usually what happens is you will extract a standard 16 by 9 video out of the 360 image. So what you effectively do is, through the software, you tell it where you want that 16 by 9 window to be looking within the 360 bubble. So I can ride my bike, stick the camera on, and then when I get home, it's like I've got a drone following me. and I can tell it where the drone's looking at anyone. It can be facing me.
Where do you stick it on your bike, though?
Various places. So there's a whole collection of different mounts that you can get, and poles and all sorts of things. So quite often I would just use a clamp mount and put it on the stem for the wing mirrors, so that I can have it looking back at myself. I can have it looking down at the handlebars and the clocks, and then I can pan around to look at the pretty girl that I've just ridden past, or all sorts of things. I've done things like put it on a pole, clamped to the top box on the back of my motorbike, and so the camera is sitting probably about a metre above my head and half a metre behind me, but it looks like being followed by a drone.
Like
perspective.
Like a Google car.
Yes, yeah. It's it's obviously cheaper and lighter and smaller and all that sort of stuff, but it is basically the same thing. So yeah, if you go on Google Maps and pan around, that's really what I do within the software. And there's a number of ways you can, in the video timeline, you can say, at this point in the timeline, I want it looking this way, and at this point in the timeline, I want it looking that way. And you can either have it just one continuous rate pan around from one to the other within that time window, or you can have it start fast and then slow down, or vice versa, and the software will do all that for you. One of the nice things in the phone app is you can watch the video on your phone, and you sit in your office chair, and you basically pivot around in your office chair, and the accelerometer motors within the phone recognise the fact that you've turned around and you're looking in the opposite direction, and it'll pan the video around in that direction. It's amazing software. And the latest version, the X5, it looks a bit like a chunky TV remote in terms of form factor. But they've now enlarged the sensors and improved the software. So now they're delivering really, really good low light as well. I've seen some amazing stuff of bikes riding down, in the pitch black of night, just using street lighting or shop windows to pick things out while they're riding at 40 miles an hour down a dual carriageway sort of thing. The phenomenal piece of kit. So that's the technology and the software that goes with it. What do I use it for, apart from the bikes, is family trips. So, I will have it on the selfie pole, but the pole disappears in the stitch line of the two lenses. So you can have that pole out in front, and again, I've stuck a video of I've forgotten the name. It's the Cornish town that got flooded when all the water came down. Boscombe sounds familiar. Anyway, just me and the family walking around the countryside, and again, it looks like you've got a film crew with you, because you can't see the pole I'm holding in my hand, just to record the days out and sort of thing. And actually, in terms of, we're talking about editing films, editing still images in Lightroom or Photoshop, because this is so easy, it's something that I do feel I can get reasonably creative with. I actually was in Tintagel in a fudge shop, and the guy in the fudge shop was making a batch of fudge. And I sort of showed him the camera and said, would you mind if I videoed you making the fudge? This camera's going to be coming across on the pole above you and around you. And he was really interested. Anyway, when I showed him the resulting video, he was like, can I use that on our website? And, that's phenomenal. And, yeah, of course. So emailed him the video. We did all the editing there and then. Emailed him the video and walked away with about £10 of fudge for my payment.
Result.
And I just looked on the website of this thing, and it's £500 or thereabouts for the newest one. But there's also another a cute little one called a Go, which there's someone that's kind of just clipping it to the front of their jumper, which is a smaller thing. The battery, I suppose, is going to be a thing with this, is it?
It's pretty solid. From what I've seen, though.
The Go is so it's not a 360. Although it's the Insta 360 company, it's not a 360 camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a forward-facing wide-angle camera.
Right.
And the intention with it is just to take short clips.
Mm-hmm.
There is a mount which makes it about the size of a standard action camera, which has a battery in it. So you can pop the Go into that body and that will recharge it, or you can just use it for longer shooting time. But it really is very much intended to be just short clips, so that the battery life then isn't too much of a limiting factor.
What about the battery in the big one?
And with most of these action cameras, things like the GoPros and all the rest of it, they often overheat before they run out of battery.
Oh, okay.
They're just, they're shooting in 8K these days, and the amount of processing that they're doing, they do tend to get hot fairly quickly, unless you stick it onto a motorcycle that's travelling at 70-ish.
I was going to say I'd choose to do 4K if I could pick. I'm guessing you can pick.
So, yes, I mean with these sort of action cameras, yes, typically, I've stuck stuff up on YouTube that's just 1080, and it's good enough for what most people are doing on YouTube. The Insta 360 ones, I've got a couple of them, and the full 360 image works out at 5.7K. I think the new X5 is an 8K, but
yes,
they've kind of they have been very good at their temperature management, and I've seen reviews where people have just sat them static on a tabletop and run the battery down, and they'll.
Oh, hang on a minute. There's an image here that says 208 minutes on the X5. So I guess that is a maximum.
Yeah. And you can stick power banks in to keep them going and all that sort of stuff. So there's ways around it if you did want to make much longer ones.
Very good, very interesting. So that may be a topic we'll come back to in time, in future episodes. As I say, the topics are the thing probably where we're going to head for. And one suggestion was that we choose perhaps each show for a theme or a topic for the following show. Even one person suggested that we challenge each other with a theme to go and try and take photos of something. I don't know. This used to happen in the photographic magazines from one issue to another. You say, right, next month it's going to be macro month, and everyone sends in their photographs. So that's an idea of something we could be doing. Lots of things to think about in that respect. But yeah, I'm keen to come back to what I said about Ian and moving from smartphone to camera, which if you feel as though you're prepared to say a bit about that on short notice, we could have a look at that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Joe, you mentioned it as well. I know Chris sort of came in that direction, that use it from moving from having the camera on your phone and getting some pleasure out of taking those shots and taking some sort of artistic-y things from, again, very early iPhones moving forward. But as I mentioned earlier, that you get to this point where you think you're creating some really great images on your phone, and you want to make that next step to get a camera, and it's quite an experience. For me, it was quite an experience because I bought a Sony A7 Mark III, and I wanted to take some motorsport things, and the iPhone just wasn't quick enough or didn't get what I would want to do. So I made an investment probably of, I think at the time it was about £1,400 or something like that, to buy a second-hand Sony A7. And then I was completely shocked by the quality that was coming out of it, because you didn't have any of this processing that we take for granted on our smartphones, that most of the images come out okay and in focus, and they'd taken shots beforehand and manipulated that. You didn't get any of that with the Sony, and everything was coming out blurred, and it was quite a disheartening process initially. And then I was lucky that the sort of father-in-law was into photography and took me through the exposure triangle, and but I would say that if you do that, go on to auto straight away. I don't think there's any shame in just using in auto mode and getting all of that done for you. But I think, but I look back on it now, and I still really like a lot of the shots that I took on my phone, and I still like taking it on my phone. But now I'm at a point whereas if I haven't got my camera with me, I wish I had my camera with me, because I know that I would get a lot better, more detail on a proper camera than on a phone. I don't know if that was. I don't know if that was a similar thing for you, Joe. That I don't know if you mentioned on the last show that you sort of moved from taking pictures on your phone into.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not poo-pooing mobile photographers, 'cause, I still love mobile photography, but the cameras are far superior, and there's just more soul to the image, because it's more like the raw image than what you get from a from a mobile, because it does so much computational stuff on it. It's not real half the time, especially like for a pixel, for example. It doesn't look as real as what I get from my camera, for me. Do you
think that's coming though? Do you think that's coming? Do you think that the way in which cameras will survive in this sea of smartphones is to make it all much cleverer, so that people that want to use cameras with long lenses and big glass can do that, but they don't have to think about it, and it'll just do it for them in an even greater way than it does already?
I think it's heading that way slightly, but I think there's a reluctance, because they could do a lot more and be what more closer to what mobiles do, but they're doing it very slowly, aren't they? I think there is a reluctance. I mean, AI side of things is only coming in a little bit recently, but you still got the option, haven't you, to do full auto if you want, and not have that AI stuff. Whereas
but for example, things like working out bokeh for you, with a proper camera and a proper lens, you do that yourself. Yes, there are programs that will help you to do that, but essentially you've got to make sure you've got the lens set properly in order to make the most of it, and so forth. And I just wonder if eventually something's just going to take over and say, I want bokeh mode. Well, perhaps that you can already. I haven't got a posh modern camera. Perhaps Ian or you, Joe, you've got a posh modern camera, haven't you?
Yeah, I need some new other lenses though, because the glass is still important, like you say, Ted. Even with the features on the cameras, you need the right glass with it. But the other thing about it is, obviously, with the quality you can get. So if you want to punch into an image, you can do that quite easily. Whereas you do that with a mobile image, it falls apart, of course.
That's probably the biggest thing for me, that you do take a picture and it looks epic on your phone, but when you want to, as you say, punch into it, it blurs beyond belief. And I last year I took a picture I absolutely loved. I was on a beach, and there was a guy walking with his dog, and I got a picture on my phone, and it basically put a halo effect around it, and I just it would have been so great if I'd have taken that on with my camera. But as soon as you zoomed in a little bit on your phone, you saw this sharpening happening on there, and it was like, oh no, it's and there wasn't any way to come back on that. But
that's the
but
fake.
it's interesting.
Yeah, that's what's the fake stuff I was talking
Yeah.
about. Exactly. Yeah.
But I think the new Canon was supposed to have a lot of smarts into it, but it's still a bit strange that the camera industry hasn't moved closer to the computational stuff. It seems to be very independent, but it also seems that the whole camera market is absolutely booming. That it is doing really, really well in spite of people having smartphones and taking a lot. I don't know if there is a lot of people on the similar sort of journey that think that, oh wow, I can take great pictures on my phone, I'm going to get a camera and get into that market. It just seems it is, I don't know, me being in it, but it does seem to be really, really growing.
So, like Ted, I've not looked at the modern hardware for, it's a long time since I actually bothered to look. Are the latest cameras capable of doing in-camera focus stacking and that sort of stuff automatically?
Yeah, some of them have them features.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do a focus stack, and you could set that up to take the images. But I think you would still then go into Lightroom and put those together. Yeah. I don't think you would actually do it in camera. But yeah, it's getting more and more of those sort of capabilities are coming in, but it's not going to the crazy where it's putting things into pictures that aren't there, like Samsung and historically the moon pictures and things like that, where it's going out on the internet, taking a picture of that and putting it on your image. I don't think that's going to come anytime soon. But
I was just thinking, Ted's question about whether it will do it for you. The thing is, if the camera can automatically do the focus stacking for you, then all right, maybe you pull it out to Lightroom or whatever. But with AI smarts, then I'm sure it could. You click the magic wand, and it's going to analyze the stack and bring you the optimal beauty picture for whatever it is. So where just to reference the little girl that I took, getting that nice blurred background while still keeping her eyes and her fringe sharp and all that was that was a me in the moment twisting a focus ring and clicking on it, and just at that time what was an automatic action for me to look through the viewfinder and see that it looked right, and it was it's like driving your car. You don't think about changing the gear, and that's where I was with that camera at that time. So now I'm sure that set up your camera and then you would just pull that particular image from the stack.
You still do that, but now you just click that shutter a few more times because you're not scared of filling up the camera. You just keep shooting.
Which goes back to my previous point, really, which feels to me a little bit like a shame and taking away the skill of the photographer and the dedication to wanting to get it right, and instead of just saying, don't worry about it because I'll have 45 shots here and one of them will be all right. To me, that it just takes away from the art of it. Again, going back to motorsport, Ian, I'm guessing that we've moved away a little bit from smartphone to camera here, but it must be quite easy to have that kind of mentality. If you're panning across a moving motor car, you think to yourself, well, I don't need to be too exact because one of these 45 shots it's bound to be pretty good.
Probably for my ability, but I think on the motorsport side, because I have to do it to create a certain amount of images, then I need to get a certain amount right, and I would say from the panning with the Nikon, you're probably getting because it's 20 frames a second, so 20 shots, and you're probably getting a couple that are absolutely right on there. But I think, and the work I do there is just you need to have a picture of every car going left round the corner, right round the corner. There's no, I guess it is a process of the camera. You will get it right and you'll get one of those. But where I think the joy comes is when you can say, well, I'm going to really drop that down to 1/50th or 1/25th of a second to get that real blur and to get the driver's helmet in focus. That's where I guess the real skill comes into it. That again, I'm not saying you have to be lucky, but that's where the experience and years of practice that the professionals are getting those kind of shots.
That's what I was going to say to Ted. Like, it is good now because it opens up photography to loads more people, and you've got loads of okay photographers out there. But like Ian says, they're only okay. It's really hone your skills. You need to learn your camera, learn all the settings, and it be a body part, like Chris said earlier. To really get the really professional photos and get with all the elements that you want. Like when I look at my photos, I look at lots of elements and think, oh, that's rubbish. But most people, I post it on Instagram, they love it. It's great. But
just keeping the subject in frame. Yes, you can spray, but the art of panning, to understand that you kind of start like a coiled spring. So you don't stand facing where the car's coming from, because if you do that, you're never going to get the follow through. So you kind of start and wind your body up in the direction that the camera's coming, so that you can then accelerate your body as the car reaches the fastest point as it's coming past you, and to hold that frame, as you say, to get the helmet dead sharp. And also, when you're panning like that, if you haven't got that stable base that you're panning with, it's really obvious in the pan, because what you get is the blurred stuff is wavy. It jiggles up and down like a wavy line. Whereas someone who's good at panning, those lines will be dead straight. So, yes, okay, you may have sprayed 20 shots, but you've still mastered that art of panning with the subject. So, I love your work, Ian.
And that's what it's become now as well, though, because you can just spray loads of shots. The critique of professional shots is very granular, going right deep into every element and every detail.
And for me, it's really humbling that you see guys. There's a guy called Mark Sutton who's been into motorsport photography for donkey's years, and again, being with these people, and you can see what they're producing. It's quite, when you think, I got that shot, and then you can see other people, and again, they're thinking about what's not just the pan, but what's in the background, and this and this, and the colours, and it's like, wow, it's a different level. But I think that's how you improve and you aspire to do those kind of shots. I think it's one thing for me. It is a great learning thing. You go back to zero quite quickly, and but it's when you do capture. I don't know if it's. I'm not old enough to play golf yet, but maybe it's a bit like that golf thing that it's challenging all the time. But you get that one that you think, oh, that's brilliant. For me, that's the reason I still do it, to get that one shot and think, yeah, I really like that.
Okay, so moving from smartphone to camera then, as a theme going on here. In one summarization, Ian, what would you say the topic kind of lends itself towards summarizing out like?
I would definitely do it. I mean, it is. If you get joy from taking pictures on your phone, it's an easy entry into getting a Micro Four Thirds or something like that camera. Start on auto, and you'll be surprised how much extra detail you will get with that camera. You may go down before you get better, but you will get that shot and go, wow, that's so much better than I would have got in my phone. So.
Cool.
I've enjoyed it, and I think I think it's a growing market with people taking that journey, because so many. If you look at maybe 20, 30 years ago, none of us had a camera with us all the time, but now everyone thinks they're a photographer, which is great, because you have that people that want to get a better shot and move to a proper camera rather than their phones. So
great.
That's
okay.
my take on it.
Yep.
Anyway.
Thanks very much, Ian. So next time, we haven't had time today to look at Ed's full frame versus Micro Four Thirds, but Micro Four Thirds was just mentioned there, and it was mentioned earlier by Chris as well. So we'll perhaps take that as our if Ed can join us next time, that'd be great. He can introduce it himself. Mm-hmm. If he can't, though, we'll take that one on the next show. Do we want to nominate a theme for the next show, challenge each other to take a photograph of a particular topic, or shall we leave that until the show afterwards and consider this just the pilot? Any thoughts?
I was just thinking, as we spoke about camera versus mobile, where we all take a few shots with our phone and camera.
Okay.
We can talk about that briefly.
Mm-hmm. That would fit in. That would fit in with, kind of fit in with what Ed was talking about as well. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue, isn't it? That if we do go out with a camera as well as our phone, do we notice a difference? Back to Ed's thing around his full frame and Micro Four Thirds, and again, we could get to the point where the phone is better, and we could just give up and stick with BSC photos. So
yeah, okay, all right. So next time then,
can I throw in an additional constraint?
Okay,
yes,
just a little bit. Mobile versus real camera, still life.
Okay,
yeah,
all right. So we'll home in on a topic then. Of still life within the framework that we just said. It's not too critical, so don't people worry too much. But if you're coming on to the next show, then if you could have something prepared, some sort of still life image which has been taken by a camera and on a phone, and then we can compare them. We can put the results in our recording notes, so we can all look at that, and then make it available in the show notes at the end of the show. Show notes for this one will be, as usual, in the Whatever Works channel on YouTube and other podcatchers. So check that out. I'll put some of the photographs and links that we've spoken about in those show notes as well this time, so you can see that as well. For the time being, we'll stick with the whole hosted by Whatever Works thing, because if we try and change that, it's going to start costing money, so we don't want to do that just yet. Let's become famous first, eh? And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time, it will be, the 31st of July. So hopefully as many people can join us on that show then as well, from our kind of basis of about 6 people now. Chris Clayton should be back from his travels by then, I think. So he's definitely really keen to come and join back in with the thing. Andy Morris is one person who has not joined in at all yet, and Ed House, if he's okay to join us, will be doing so as well, hopefully. So yeah, thanks ever so much for joining me, gents, and hopefully if you've been listening to this, you've enjoyed it. Give us some feedback. Let us know in the MeWe group what you've been thinking about it, whether it's worth carrying on or whether it's a load of claptrap. Do let us know, and we'll be back with you in a fortnight. Camera Creations at whatever works.
Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye all.
Very cute.